And too often what people don't do enough of is understand why they win and what they could do to replicate that success.
Welcome to the Satori Lifestyle Satori Masters podcast, the ultimate resource for ambitious, hardworking school owners that want to get their business and their life to the next level. My name is Dave Kovar. I'm a lifetime martial artist, business owner, speaker, and author. My goal is to empower listeners with the knowledge and the tools they need to break through barriers and really get their business and their life to the next level. Thanks for watching and enjoy. Welcome to the Satori Lifestyle Satori Masters podcast. I'm your host, Dave Kovar, and with me today is my business partner and CEO of Kovar Inc., Dave Chamberlain. How are you, sir?
I'm well, sir. How are you?
All right, outstanding. It's been a while since we've had you on the podcast, and I thought it would be really fun just to kind of reminisce. We've been partners now for nearly 20 years. I know you've been, it was 20 years ago, like 2 months ago, that you started working with us. And of course, you started working about the same month. You got your black belt in, I think, of April of 2006. Does that sound right? 2006?
Correct. Yeah.
And that's about the same month you started. So you'd been a student for 3 or 4 years before that. And I remember we met probably in around 2000, 2001 with I was doing a summer like kickboxing class on Saturday mornings. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, that was a great class.
Yeah, and so somehow we kind of hit it off, and in the process, you of course were CEO of several companies before you came to work for us, and fill in. But I'm giving everybody a little bit of a background. You had sold a company, Versata. And you were kind of figuring out what the next step was, and we asked you to come in just to give us some consulting because we had some challenges going on, and we didn't let you leave, and that was 19 years ago.
Yeah, no, it's great memory. It was 2006, and we had, as a company, taken some investments from a venture capital firm and some local angel investors and family members, and we were on our way to an expansion.
And as a matter of fact, you were one of the investors before you were a partner as well. And
Yes.
so first off, take our listeners, anybody that in our network, of course, knows you and has a great deal of respect for you. And there's some people here that have never maybe had a chance to meet you. Take us through some of your background before you came to work for us. So some of the things that you did in your past life.
Well, I was a school teacher and football coach for a couple of years, and then I joined IBM in Cleveland, Ohio, and was with IBM for almost 15 years. And then I did probably about 7 or 8 years of startups and turnarounds, where I would come in and try and help a company that needed help. And then my goal was to give it a good either exit or take it to the next level, and someone else then would take it over and I'd move on to the next opportunity.
Got it. And actually, I think you've been with our company longer than any other company. Is that fair to say?
True. That's
Yeah.
true. Yeah.
Yeah. And the reason why is because I wouldn't let him leave. That's what it was. So
No, it's been great. It really has been the best experience of my life, and I'm sad that someday it'll end, but not
well,
today.
tell the listeners what because you came to this business. A lot of times people are kind of maybe they don't have as much outside experience before they get involved, and so you came to a chain of a bunch of schools, martial arts schools, with certainly some knowledge of martial arts, but really not martial arts business per se. What are the things that you find that are unique to this business, and what have you learned? What are some of the experiences you've learned over the last 20 years? I guess what could you tell school owners based on your experience?
Well, I think that establishing the culture that you want in your school is absolutely the most important thing. And so probably in all the business areas that I've been involved in over the last 50 years, nothing that I've ever worked in before has as much of a cultural aspect to it as the martial arts school. That if you're not sure of why you're there, or if you're not sure of the kind of behaviors you want to have exhibited by your students and your staff, I think trouble occurs pretty quickly. So having that cultural base, it shocked me at how important that was, and how when you get it, I think we've got it right, thanks to you and what we've done over the years. But having that in place, everything else flows from it.
Yeah, it really makes a big difference. I know I've shared this story a bunch of times, but one time you, myself, and of course, my older brother Tim was my business partner for almost 20 years, and he retired, and you and him had about a year and a half overlap or something
Yep.
like that. And he had just retired, and Rick Campbell, one of our partners, and you and I were in a meeting trying to figure out some problem. I don't even remember what the problem was. But Rick, who also trained in martial arts but was never involved in the business, I remember him saying, this is a pretty simple business. We should be able to figure this out. And I'll never forget, you went, time out. No, it's not. So what makes the martial arts business unique as compared to and different as compared to maybe other things that you've seen?
Well, I think when the alarm goes off, when 2 o'clock hits in a school, there are a lot of things going on. There are a lot of moving parts, and not having a system to know how all those parts fit together, that's a real problem. So I think what's unique about what we do is probably no other place that I can think of has as much of a systemized approach needed as the martial arts school. And it's a complicated business, especially if you don't have that system. It gets less complicated with a good system.
Yeah, we have it's so funny because there's so much uh like most of our team, a big chunk of them grew up in our schools, right?
Right.
And like for example, we're going to take Noah Onderchek, who is now the manager at the Roseville location. He actually he's like probably close to 30 years old. He was actually a little samurai. As a matter of fact, with the gentleman filming this right now, Christian Arguto, they were like little samurais together, right? But what I'm saying is, 26, 27 years of growing up, there's all this stuff you get organically that you just understand that when you come in from the outside, you don't quite get. And so some of the things that I think that you brought to the equation really well was our culture has always been a pretty, I'd like to say it's good. That's something we've always focused on, but it was kind of by chance, not by structure. And one of the things that I think you brought was a lot of structure. And also, from the back end, most martial arts schools, owners like myself, didn't really keep track of our stats as well. Actually, we took pretty good care of our stats, but our P&Ls weren't necessarily maybe as tight as they could have been. We were okay with it. But tell me about like a school owner, how important it is that they get that back end right. We understand that you have to have great classes and you have to have good rapport with your students, but tell me how important it is to have all the business aspects squared away.
Well, you heard me say this a number of times, but you have to know why you win. Because if you know why you win, then you keep doing what it is that allows you to win. And too often, what people don't do enough of is understand why they win and what they could do to replicate that success. And so I think if you know where you stand financially, if you know where you stand statistically with your student base, if you know what's working on the mat and the kinds of things that you need to maybe change or tweak, you can't do any of that unless you know what the actual results are. And so it's important to know why you win.
Yeah, and so many things like through the years we've had people that kept their stats, but then they didn't really analyze them. You
Right.
know, like what I think is really interesting statistic, and of course our gal Julie Alexander, the chief operating officer, is really good at like tracking and analyzing the stats. Is that where our new students actually come from? Because we do a lot of online stuff. We also do all the old school grassroots stuff,
Yep.
and I believe last time a couple months ago the stats were 52% of our students come from old school grassroots strategies. So for you
Yep.
guys out there that are just relying on paid ads and doing, man, you're missing out on a lot. And not only that, I believe it's something like 65% of the actual students that enroll came off the grassroots stuff. Yeah, in other words, that's always a good choice. But if we didn't really know that, then we'd be maybe throwing a lot of money away.
Right. And you can get crazy with stats. I'm not suggesting that you track everything that moves, but just something as simple as quits by belt rank.
Yeah,
It'll tell
massive.
you, it's like it'll lead you to the promised land because it's giving you breadcrumbs and you just follow the crumbs and it'll take you to where you need to either make changes or continue doing what you are doing.
And all these years later, it's still so remarkable to me how many people will say, "Oh man, just tell me how to get new members." Yeah, everybody stays once they start, and then you do the math on it, and it's like, okay, maybe they're not as much. And no matter how hard you work, there's no doubt that the first 100 days when we lose the most students. And the math on it is, if I can get 9 out of 10 of my students to stick around for like their first belt promotion, how that equates years down the line with the number of active students and the revenue for this business, it's crazy. So it kind of talked me through why it's so important at the beginning and what to try to keep members and what kind of things that we might do.
Well, I think it's gotten even more difficult to get someone into a school and getting them into the habit of attending class and getting martial arts into their DNA. And so, because of the recent past with COVID and other things, I think the attention span for staying in a school and being part of the academy, it's even harder. And so, what we're focused on is from day one, a deeper connection, that we will do whatever we need to do to help someone, to make them feel like they belong. Little things like just knowing their name is so important, right? But there are other things we can do that go maybe just a little bit above what someone else might do to let them know we care. And if they know we care and we treat them like family almost, then they will allow us to work with them until that habit becomes formed inside.
It's amazing. We are all emotional human beings more so than logical human beings in most cases. And so what I mean by that is if we can have our students have an emotional connection to the school and to us, they will drive by 5 other martial arts schools to train with us, right? They will pay more to train with us. And so that's why that's so important. By the way, there's probably other schools that are closer to, there's probably people drive by our school to go somewhere else because they've developed an emotional connection there. So important. It's when someone comes in, of course, one of our mindsets is I make others feel important when I'm in their presence. What can we do, to when someone first comes in to make them feel a part of the team and appreciated? And if we can do that, man, we're going to keep them a lot longer.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's
And one of the things that we always, I know you read a lot. I like to think I do. We continue to remind ourselves that we don't know it all.
Yep.
And there are things out there that we can learn from others, from reading, from just the world, that allows us to maybe tweak some things that we're doing, and always looking for that edge, always looking to get a little bit better so that we're not just walled off from the rest of the world.
100%. And it's Shoshin, beginner's mind. It's as you age, you have to kind of really be more mindful of keeping that beginner's mind, because over time you kind of tend to be maybe a little more, yeah, I already know that, a little more closed off and a little less receptive to input. And man, that will kill you in business. Like, how many businesses have we seen, Fortune 500 companies that are no longer in business because they didn't evolve with the times? And that's one of the things that because of your involvement, because you are constantly reading, and your involvement in Vistage, which is a business organization that you've been involved in, we've been exposed to a lot of cutting edge information that's out there in the real world, not just in our martial arts world. And of course, everybody now is aware of AI, but I know that all you've been exposed to that through your meetings with Vistage, probably ahead of the curve a little bit. I know, not a couple months back, we had a whole team come and do a presentation for our team on where this is going, and I'll tell you what, it just put a fire under our teams, behind our team, to where we are learning as much as we can about how we can apply AI, and how. You can't be afraid of it, because it's here, and you either have to embrace. You can not like it, but it's here, and if you embrace it, a lot of good stuff is happening. So, kind of give me some feel to how you see us using it, or how we have been using it, and how we will be using it.
Well, so I got some good advice from someone who'll be speaking at our conference here pretty quickly. But he said, don't get too crazy with it. Don't try and do these exotic applications. AI in your world could be the basics, the blocking and tackling, things that are manually done today. You could automate them, and it wouldn't take much at all to do that. So what we're doing is anything that involves data entry, we're looking to get that off someone's plate, because what we're doing is hopefully freeing up their time to go have a personal connection with a parent or a student. And so what we're trying to do is apply it to things that would allow us to be more available. And then there are things that we can do within the instruction and within the way we're organizing our content that AI is perfect for. So we have too many areas that we'd like to go. So we're trying to pick three that we can go after.
Right. It's really incredible. I know in our resource library, if you're Satori, if you're a Kovar Systems client, then we actually have Satori AI right now. You know, where you
Yeah.
can go and anything you want to know about how we run our business, you go and ask it the question. It'll answer in our voice because we've programmed our material into it. It's really remarkable. And I
Well,
know,
you've been using it quite a bit. The AI has to get to know you, right?
yeah.
It has to understand what you are all about and what you're looking for, so it can be more helpful to you. That's why if you wait, you're losing time in getting the AI to know you.
So a couple things that I've done, as you know, I plugged in about almost 2,000 pages of documents of things that I've written, a couple books and articles, into my Gemini platform on Google, and now it knows what I would think about a lot of stuff, and so it can help me write. For example, just playing around, I always thought it'd be really cool to do bedtime stories with a martial arts theme based on our messages of the week. And so, in the course of about 2 hours, AI helped me write a whole book of bedtime storages with characters and dragons and lions and ninja and it really, I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but it was really remarkable how well it sounded. And the other thing is that our Live Safe training program, which is a very well thought out a personal protections program that we offer through Sacramento County and other places. I asked it, and it understands what it is that we do in that program because we've programmed the information into our Gemini program. Anyway, I asked it, tell me where I can go to give this presentation. And it did a deep dive, I think they call it, or deep research. And it took probably a better part of 45 minutes or an hour to get back to me, but it came back with 400 different businesses in our community. That's remarkable. Like, it would have taken me 3 weeks to research that information.
Yeah, it really is. In the speed at which I just was going through a presentation the other day, and I thought I'll just ask ChatGPT to see if it can punch it up a little bit. What it came up with in about 10 seconds was much, much better than what I had already written. So it's really a great tool.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to be respectful of your time. So I appreciate you being, on the podcast here. Give me some words of wisdom. Let's say you're a school owner out there that's struggling, that's having a hard time. Maybe they feel their best days are behind them. Maybe they're getting burned out, disillusioned. Who knows? What would you tell someone like that?
Well, I would say there is no better job in the world than the one we have. I really mean that. I can't think of a day where I didn't want to come to work, and I don't know many people who can say that. And if someone is not feeling it, they're a little bit burned out, you just need to talk to your students and your team and just spend time with them, and you'll get reignited because there's so much that we can be doing for people. I was on my wife and I were on a Zoom call with a guy that is going to be our financial advisor, and he was asking a lot of questions about Kovars. And so I was taking him through our journey, and he started to tear up a little bit because of all the great stuff that we do here
Wow.
for people. It was sincere. And we were talking to Colleen. I can talk about it all day long, but she's been watching it for all these years, and she did a better job of articulating what it is we do and how we do it for people. And just that alone uh, got him in a very emotional state
Wow.
because of
Yeah.
all the wonderful things that we've done to help people.
I
So
think,
if
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, so if anyone doubts if they're making a difference, you are, and that alone should help you get over some of the things that maybe are dragging you down today. There's hope out there, but you need to get reignited and understand what's your why. We talk about this all the time. What's our why? Because the why is what fuels us coming in every day with a positive attitude.
100%. You've heard me talk about it before. There's three types of motivation: desperation, inspiration, and purpose. And having a purpose, being really clear. And it's easy to get burned out. And when you get burned out, it's because you lost sight of your vision. And whether it being talking to hearing a story of a student's transformation, reading a thank you note. There's so many things that can keep your passion strong, because when your passion is strong, that's that X factor that makes everything else work.
Absolutely.
So hey, sir, I appreciate you being on the podcast, and I look forward to continued growth going forward. And thanks for everybody for tuning in and listening.
Yeah. Hey, thank you. I appreciate this. It's an honor to be here.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Thank you for tuning in today to our podcast. I hope you found it valuable and inspirational. To stay connected, please subscribe to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you go for your podcasts. If you enjoyed today's show, please give us a 5-star review. And we really sincerely would appreciate some feedback. Your feedback helps us to create high-quality content that will help others in the future. If you'd like to follow me, you can go to Dave Kovar on Facebook or Haunchie Dave Kovar on Instagram. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on next episode.